It's Fan Fiction Friday. Let's see what Mariners trades you cooked up. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Friday, July 4th, 2025. Happy 4th, everyone. This is Ty Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off your first purchase. And as always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out is click the link in the description of this episode. It's Fan Fiction Friday, the show where you submit your Mariners trade ideas and we grade them on the 20/80 scale based on things like creativity, uniqueness, and of course, if it makes sense for not just the Mariners, but the other team as well. So let's get into them. All right, Blake has a deal here with the Royals. Mariners receive Vinny Pasquantino and Lucas Erceg for Harry Ford, Johnny Farmelo, Ty Pete, and Jared Sundstrom.
Yeah. On the surface, this probably seems fine, but there's one kind of major flaw with this trade proposal. The Royals aren't going to be interested in Harry Ford. 3 of their top 4 prospects are also catchers. And so unless the Royals think Harry Ford can play somewhere else, and maybe they do.
Or maybe they just think he's better than all the catching prospects that they have.
Yeah, they probably don't. But if they do, fine, whatever. But even then, how many good catching prospects do you need in your system? Now, Farmelo, though, is because you kind of have not even really co-headliners here. You have 2 top 100 guys for a reliever who's good, but doesn't miss a ton of bats, doesn't get a ton of strikeouts, and a first baseman who doesn't hit for as much power as a first baseman should. So you kind of have a high leverage guy who doesn't strike guys out. You have a first baseman who doesn't hit home runs. These are flawed kind of profiles here. And you're paying a little bit right now for club control more so than impact, I think.
Yeah.
But you're still giving up impactful prospects. Like Farmelo is a headliner to a good player, you know, and Ty Pete and Sundstrom are actually legit lottery. Like Sundstrom, probably not. He's older for a prospect, but he's nice prospect. He's got pop. He's got some speed. He can play a little bit of defense. Like
he might be able to play for a major league team this year at some point.
Maybe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Ty Pete, we talked about, he's all upside. Farmelo, very similar to Pete in terms of he's all upside. It's just the production has been there, although the health hasn't. So yeah, this is an interesting package. I think it's a little too heavy on the top end for Pasquantino just because of how the fit, like he checks a lot of boxes.
I'm out on Pasquantino with what I think it's going to cost, especially if it costs us. Because let's just remove
control more than impact.
Let's remove the catching prospect aspect of this. Let's just say, Harry Ford and Johnny Farmelo with Pasquantino doing a lot of the heavy lifting on that front. Not all of it, because Erceg has been really good. And there's a lot of value there with Erceg. But Pasquantino, again, doesn't hit for a ton of power.
No.
So 104 WRC plus this year. He's a career 112 WRC plus bat. Solid player.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good hitter.
Yeah.
Not the kind of traditional first base output that you would like, though. And not someone that I'm trading 2 of my better prospects for.
No.
Or at least in part for, right? Because Erceg does carry at least a little bit of the value that Ford and Farmelo bring to the table here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely the club control that's doing a lot of the heavy lifting here in terms of the value on Pasquantino. For that reason, I'm out on him. As a player, fine, totally fine player. But for what it's likely going to cost, because he still has 2.5 years of club control.
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm going to pass on him.
So
it's the 3.5 years for Pasquantino, I think.
Yeah, I just.
So yeah, you're because again, club control is king in trade talks.
Especially for Jerry Dipoto.
Especially for a lot of teams that operate very similarly to the Mariners. And so for that reason, the Royals are going to put a premium on that because Pasquantino is he's a proven major leaguer that still has multiple years of club control. And but because of that premium relative to who Pasquantino ultimately is as a player, his limitations positionally, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't think the impact that you're going to have is substantial enough to pay for the, like, it's one thing if a guy has 3 years of club control and he's a 135 WRC plus guy, then like, okay, not only do you get the plus production, but you also get 3 years. With Pasquantino, you mostly get 3 years of a slightly above average hitter, and that's what you're paying for. I'd rather just pay for 3 months of an above average hitter and then figure out the position this winter when there will be more options available to me. So 45, I don't think it's terrible valuation. I don't like the idea that much for Seattle.
No, I think the valuation is close, if not on the money. So I'm not going to drop your grade down too much. I don't like the Pasquantino idea in general. So I just wouldn't do this if I were the Mariners. I wouldn't like to see them do this. I think it's a bit too rich for a player like Pasquantino. So I'll still give it a 45 to a 50. But yeah, I don't really like the deal personally for the M's. All right, we will go over more of your trades here in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is once again brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a Mariners game, either by yourself or with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and suddenly you realize, I want to be in the stands. Well, that's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. For instant reactions following every Mariners game, be sure to tune in to the Mariners postcast with Anderson Hurst and Christopher Crawford, available on both the Locked On Mariners YouTube and podcast feeds. All right, let's get back into your trades here. Jage, Mariners receive Ryan O'Hearn and Lucas Erceg. The Orioles receive Daniel Lynch, Ashton Izzy, Troy Taylor, and the Royals get Heston Kjerstad, Brandon Garcia, and Ty Pete. And there's a poll that accompanied this, like all of Jage's mock trades that he puts out there. 42% said all teams would agree to this. 29% say the Orioles say no. 22% say the Mariners say no. And 7% say the Royals say no.
Yeah, I don't know, because a lot of this will bank on what the Orioles think of Lynch, obviously, because Izzy is a pure lottery ticket and Taylor is a pure reliever. Like there's no
who's been bad this year. So it also banks on, like, do you think you have the fix for him?
Yes, the Orioles, kings of developing pitching.
Yeah, exactly.
But like for the Orioles, from an Orioles perspective, they're giving up O'Hearn, who's probably their most valuable trade chip that they're actually willing to trade. And Heston Kjerstad, who's just been an absolute disaster. But do you want to throw him in when you're already giving up O'Hearn? Like, do you want to trade them in the same deal? And the big prize for that is Daniel Lynch. I mean, if they really like him, they might do that. And maybe they also really like Izzy, who certainly is a noteworthy prospect, but I don't think he's a super exciting one as things stand right now. Like the Royals getting Ty Pete and like, honestly, if I were the Orioles, I'd be like, why am I getting Why am I getting Troy Taylor? Give me Brandon Garcia. I want Garcia. So I want Ty Pete. Like the Royals are getting the best prospects that the Mariners are giving up, but the Orioles are the ones giving up the best piece in the trade, the best major league piece in the trade.
Yeah.
So I think the Mariners are getting a little too much here. I think that the Orioles aren't getting enough for what they're giving up in this trade. Although, honestly, they could DFA Kierstead tomorrow, and I'd be like, oh, okay. Like, because he's been bad. He's just been bad. So, yeah, it's an interesting trade. A lot of, like, I don't want to say smaller names, but just kind of a lot of, like, mid-tier prospects kind of exchanging hands here. And I don't think a bulk deal in a 3-team deal is going to get you Ryan O'Hearn, because if I'm the Orioles, I'm looking at this and I'm being like, you go work on a separate deal for Urseg.
Yeah, I think all these names not being that significant is what ultimately hurts this deal. And the purpose of 3-team deals and the purpose of bringing a third team in is to facilitate something that one of the other teams doesn't have.
Right.
And I just don't see that here with this deal. I just see a couple players that the Mariners could just go get on their own in 2 separate deals.
Yeah. Because I do think that if Baltimore wants bulk for Ryan O'Hearn instead of like one big piece, which, you know, Mike Elias is nuts. So kind of hard to know one way or the other. But like if your package that you're giving up is like Brandon Garcia, Ty Pete, and Ashton Izzy, like that's a pretty good bulk package for Ryan O'Hearn.
Sure.
But you know, this deal, the Orioles are only getting Taylor and Izzy. They're not even getting Daniel Lynch. Like, I don't know. I don't think that it feels like 2 separate trades that you tried to cram together into one trade. And again, like, I think Baltimore is going to want one big piece for O'Hearn. I think the Mariners are going to prefer more of a bulk type of package. So I think from a Mariners perspective, this is roughly what they would like to give up for O'Hearn. I just don't think the Orioles are going to take it. And again, I think the presence of the Royals, like the Royals are getting Kierstead, and like, how are the Royals getting a better prospect package, in my opinion, than the Orioles, when the Orioles are the one giving up the biggest piece?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I would say the Orioles say no. That would be where my vote would go on this. So I really don't get anybody who thinks the Royals would say no, which is why it only had 7%, I suppose. But the Mariners, I would do this. Yeah, of course I would. So I think the Orioles are the hang up here. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'll go 40.
Yeah.
All right. Next trade here from Jeremy. Jose Ramirez to the Mariners for Colt Emerson, Harry Ford, Ryan Sloan, and Ben Williamson. I just don't think you're going to get Jose Ramirez without trading one of the starting pitchers.
Probably Miller or Wu, someone who hasn't started making money yet. That being said, would I give up Bryce Miller as part of a package to get Jose Ramirez? Yes, I would, without hesitation. But the deal that you put in front of us, 3 really good prospects, and then Harry Ford, misdirect. No, but 3 really good prospects, then Ben Williamson. I assume Williamson is there to take the place of Ramirez.
He's a throw-in. Here's a major league third baseman to play for you. Maybe you get something out of him. Yeah.
I don't think this is enough to entice the Guardians from trading Ramirez. I think they should be open to trading Ramirez just based on where they are. And last year they got pretty darn fortunate to be where they were. To me, this is a team that is just a couple years away. We know they'll restock. We know that they'll be back, but I don't think this is the year. I think we're kind of seeing who the Guardians actually are this year and who we thought they were going to be last year a little bit. So I think trading Ramirez would be great for them. And you know, Colt Emerson is an awesome prospect. Does Harry Ford carry enough upside though to be the second piece in this deal, or are they going to want Laz? Are they going to want, you know, Farmelo? I think Ford might be looked at as a third piece in a deal for a guy like Jose Ramirez. So yeah, I like the boldness. I think that unfortunately, I think it would be something like Emerson, Bryce Miller, Ford, and Sloan. I think it would cost like those 4 guys to get the Guardians to listen to your offer. Williamson to me just doesn't carry any value in this trade. So yeah, I appreciate the boldness, but I think it's too light of a package.
Yeah. I just don't think you're getting away with this without one of Miller, Wu, or maybe Kirby or Gilbert.
Maybe,
involved.
but they're starting to make a little bit of money via arbitration. So
yeah.
So
I'll go. I was gonna go 40.
Okay.
Ian has a deal here with the Nationals. Felon Celestin, Durangelo Senja, Ty Pete, and Ashton Izzy to Washington for CJ Abrams.
I think you're missing the headliner. And I know you think it's Celestin. It's not.
Yeah. And I also just don't know why the Nationals would do this. Like, it seems like they're starting to turn the corner. They're still probably a year or two away from truly competing. But Abrams and Wood are obviously a huge part of that turnaround for that organization. Just don't see them going, you know what? Actually, we're gonna hit the brakes. If Abrams had another, kind of letdown year like he did last year, or maybe some of the off the field stuff continued this year, then we could have more of a conversation about this. But it hasn't. Abrams has been incredible this year.
Right. This is a trade package you should have sent us in the winter, because it would have made a lot more sense then. But unfortunately, now we have 3-4 months of Abrams being a top 5 or 6 shortstop. Definitely not defensively, but a top 5 or 6 shortstop in baseball offensively. And they still have him for another 2 years after this year, I believe. Feldman's kind of taken a step back this year. Pete, we've talked about being just such a wild card. I don't think this even gets him to return your call, to be frank. Like, they really need pitching. And Senja just doesn't carry that high enough ceiling. Like, Senja is not Andrew Painter. He's not Bubba Chandler. And I think you need a guy like that to get the Nationals to pick up the phone on Abrams, or you need to be willing to move Miller or Wu. Maybe Kirby, though, and Gilbert, because the Nationals will spend money. So that's not really a huge thing there. But I think it's going to take one of those major league pitchers, along with a prospect package similar to this, to get them to answer the phone on Abrams. But you should definitely check in. You should definitely do your due diligence here. And, if you could get them for this, that would be a home run.
Sure.
But you can't. I don't think this interests them, piques their interest really at all.
Yeah. I'm going to go 35.
Yep. Sounds about right. 35-40.
The great Gino Raimontata has a deal for Ronald Acuña Jr. It's Akunia for Luke Raley, Cole Emerson, Lazaro Montes, Harry Ford, and Michael Morales. Again, like we talked about with the Jose Ramirez deal, I just don't think you're getting him without throwing in one of the pitchers.
Yeah. Raley, he's not going to replace the Kirby or the Wu or the Miller of it, even though he's a nice major league piece. So that's just not going to work. Might be interesting. I don't think this would make much of it, but the Braves really need a shortstop. And so if you really wanted to try and keep your pitching together, you might be able to offer them JP Crawford in a package, where obviously it would still be Colt and Laz and Farmelo. And it's just the thing with Acuña is that the Braves, if they are even going to entertain this, they're going to give you the price, and you either have to pay it or you hang up the phone.
Yeah.
They're not going to give you a discount. And this feels like a discount. As weird as it is to say, these are 3 top, 50-ish prospects in baseball, depending on what publication you look at. A good major leaguer in Luke Raley, who's still under club control for 3 years, kind of a number 5 type of starter or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the Braves would look at this and be like, it's not enough for us to consider moving. You have to blow their socks off. And I don't think this does it. No. I think you need to replace Raley with at least JP Crawford to maybe get them slightly interested, but probably more realistically Miller or Wu or Kirby. Maybe Logan, but I don't think the Mariners. I think the Mariners would much rather trade George Kirby than Logan Gilbert. But that's just a hunch. I have no idea. Like I'm not trying to report anything there. But yeah, I think you need a major leaguer to kind of co-headline with your prospect package, and it has to be one that makes sense for Atlanta. And to me, that's one of the arms, or it's J.P. Crawford, and even J.P. Crawford. It's like you might have to give up somebody else too. So.
Well, and with JP, Atlanta only gets him for a year unless they want to extend him, and obviously you're not going to factor a potential extension into the trade costs. So, yeah, so I don't even really know how much sense that makes for Atlanta. Yeah, I mean you're going to have to do something pretty big here to get Atlanta's attention, especially because, like, all right, let's comp it to the Juan Soto deal for a second. Colt Emerson isn't Mackenzie Gore.
Or James Wood.
He's like you need a bigger headliner than Cole Emerson in an Acuna deal. Yeah. And the only way that you can do that without it being obviously like Julio or Cal, it's one of the pitchers.
Yeah. So
just Bryce Miller might not even be that guy. So it probably is Gilbert, Kirby, or Woo.
Maybe. I threw this out yesterday to a mutual just to gauge their reaction. Colt Emerson, Laz Montez, Bryce Miller, Michael Arroyo, Gerangelo Sainja for Acuna. And Miller admittedly might have to be like Kirby.
Yeah.
I think that's like the bare minimum type. Like Harry Ford's not going to do much for them. They have Murphy, they have Baldwin. Then they're going to want pieces that are relatively close to the big leagues, and Arroyo and Laz are both in Double-A and playing well there, so they're probably up by next year. Emerson's a guy who can move very quickly, and so is Sainja. And then obviously Kirby or Miller would slide right into their rotation. I mean, Miller when he's healthy, but like either of those guys would start right away, and they would have those two guys for at least as long as they would have had Acuna. I think that's what it's going to take, something like that. So I just don't think that this is a big enough of enticing enough for the Braves to really heavily consider it. So for that reason, I got to go 40. But boy, I tell you what, if the Mariners could pull this off, I'll build the Jerry DiPoto statue myself. So it won't be good, but I'll do it.
Sure.
But yeah, I just don't think this is enough to get a player like Acuna, and they need to pay more, and they should pay more, like we talked about yesterday.
Yeah. So I'm going to go 40.
Yeah.
All right. Last deal of the day comes from Brandon. Mariners get Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano from the Orioles for Harry Ford, Tyler Locklear, and Jared Sundstrom. So not only do you get the first base bat that you need, you also get a right-handed outfielder, which is kind of a underrated need-ish for the M's. So yeah, what do you think?
Again, it comes down to what do the Orioles think Harry Ford can do other than catch? They have Adley.
They also have Basayo.
Yep. So I know Mariner fans seem to really want to be Harry Ford to be the one that gets given away, traded, whatever. But because of Ford's positioning, because of the, big, difference in opinion that a lot of front offices are going to have about him, you really have to look at what the other team would do with a guy like Harry Ford. And he just doesn't make sense for a team like Baltimore, unless they think he can be like an outfielder or he could play third or something like that. And even then it's going to take them time to teach him how to do that. So his value is going to be a little bit lower than it would be otherwise. So I think in this case, you would need to remove Harry Ford. But I also think that going to somebody like Farmelo is too much. Going to somebody like Ryan Sloan is too much. Going to somebody like maybe a Michael Arroyo, but their infield's pretty good. So you kind of look around and you go, okay, they probably want an outfielder. Who in the Mariners system is an outfielder? And it's Farmelo and it's Laz. You want to give up either of those guys for 2 months of Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano, who's a part-time player? I don't know. I wouldn't. give up Farmelo, and I probably wouldn't give up Laz. So at that point, is the deal dead? Because I don't think Ford carries enough value for them to consider this because of who they already have in-house at the catcher position. So
yeah. My starting point with the Orioles on like O'Hearn is like, hey, here's Logan Evans, who has major league experience, ton of club control. You need pitching. Yeah, he's probably not a mid-rotation starter, but he could be a number 4 for you.
Maybe.
And you know, for 2 months of a first base only.
Still a platoon guy, like, and if I am going to give up a premier prospect, like a top 100 type, I'd rather do it for Naylor, who's got a longer track record, has been better. Just in general can help me.
And maybe I can work out a bigger thing there where I also get Gino.
Yeah. Like, so I don't want to sell assets to, and again, plus even if I can't get O'Hearn and I can't get Naylor, okay, then I guess I'm going to go try and get Carlos Santana. I guess I'm going to go try and get Willie Castro and just have him play first base for me. Like, there are other options at first base. So if I can't get the guy I want at the price I want, I'm going to look elsewhere at that position. And also, by the way, with Luke Raley, back and healthy, with Donovan Solano swing the bat a little better, with the changes we've seen from Tyler Locklear, I'm not desperate for first base. I'm still looking to upgrade there. Don't get me wrong. But like, I can upgrade in right field and just make Luke Raley my primary.
You just need the bat wherever you can get it.
Right.
And first base is obviously a place where there's going to be a lot of options. That's the only reason you're really in on first base. Because push comes to shove. I know they've tried to avoid this a ton, but just put Luke Raley at first base. If that's really what this ultimately has to come down to, just put him at first base. And, call up Locklear, right? Give that a shot. Maybe platoon them for a little while, because you're probably not going to build enough depth where, even though that I don't like the idea of a first base platoon, it's probably more valuable to you than whatever you're going to have as your bench. Probably, even though it shouldn't be. But
no, but first base is like the one position of need that I feel like the Mariners are best positioned to kind of fix in-house. And you can eliminate your first base need by acquiring an outfielder, like an everyday outfielder, which is also a corner outfielder. That's also a position that is usually pretty easy to come upon in July. So I don't think I continue to say this. I don't think the Orioles are as clean as a fit as a lot of people do, as a lot of people have assumed for the last couple of years. I still continue to struggle to see a lot of it. And O'Hearn is just a guy I'm not willing to break the bank for. If I can get him in a bulk deal, fine. If I can't, I'll look at other options. I'm not paying a premium prospect for Ryan O'Hearn. It's not happening. But I just think the Orioles aren't the team to look at here with the trade talks. But 45, valuation wise, I could see it. Like, that seems like a reasonable asking price for Baltimore. But again, I just don't think Seattle and Baltimore line up all that well, and I don't think they have for the last 3 years, despite everybody just drilling that idea into your head. I disagree with them.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Well, that is going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for all of your trades and for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.